It's 26 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maukwe Ogun Yusuf, and I'm never alone.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely not. And it's 28 degrees in Lagos on the 28th of October 2025. I'm Ayo Makinde. Welcome to the show. Well, as always, Maukwe, quite a lot going on in the polity, but Channels Television always just has to pay attention to the critical ones.
Indeed, Ayo, just as the temperature is beginning to rise in the atmosphere, so it is in the polity, especially when we turn our attention to politics. So on this program yesterday, we were tracking for you an activity that we thought was going to be quite disruptive at the headquarters of the PDP. We did tell you that the former governor of Jigawa State, Mr. Lamido, had said he was going to go and purchase a PDP form for the chairmanship of the political party, especially as the convention of the political party was approaching. It's supposed to hold on the 15th and 16th of November. But the way it was yesterday, he didn't get any form to buy, and he says that he's been shut out. And apparently, he wasn't the only one. There were a number of other people there who said, oh, we don't even know where the forms are. I'd like to run as well. I really wanted to purchase a form, but I don't even know where the forms are being sold or where they're domiciled. So it's quite an interesting situation we have going on in the PDP. We'll be discussing that in just a bit. But here's a summary of what transpired yesterday.
Former governor of Jigawa State, Mr. Lamido, arrives at the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party in Abuja to obtain the party's expression of interest form for the chairmanship position in the November 15 and 16 National Convention. He was accompanied by his supporters to the office of the National Secretary, where the National Organizing Secretary of the party was also seated. The former governor declared his mission to the PDP headquarters.
Yeah, to buy a form to run for the chairmanship.
Those files have been taken over by the convention committee.
So how do I get the form? How do I get the form? You have no idea.
However, Mr. Lamido is unable to obtain the form as both the organizing secretary of the party and the national secretary of the party say they have no information about nomination forms.
I'm not aware of any form that has been printed or sold. I'm not aware. And nobody has told me how many forms have been printed or how many forms have been sold. So I am not aware of anything, to be honest with you.
I would also want to run because I have entitled to run for a second term. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, I've not seen the form. Nobody's even aware of the form. I've not even seen any aspirant. I don't know if it's any aspirant.
Outside the hall, the former Jigawa State governor threatens to take the PDP to court if the party turns down his request to purchase the form.
I went to the office of the nation of the NSO, which is normally the office where the forms are normally sold. And the office was locked by, I don't know, it was officially locked, because of his own position. So I met him with the secretary of the party, Atiwa Nyawu. I said, look, I'm here to buy the form. All of them said they have no idea where the forms are.
You are unable to get the form. What is your next line of action?
If I don't get the form, I'll go to court. Simple.
According to the PDP timetable for the 2025 elective convention, the purchase of nomination forms ended since last month. At this news conference at the PDP Convention Committee Media Center, spokesperson of the party's consensus chairmanship candidate, Mr. Umar Sani, reacts to Sule Lamido's remarks.
Today is not a day for selling of forms. Today is the day for submission of forms. So if Sule Lamido went to the Wadata looking for forms, he went on the wrong date.
We have adopted a consensus candidate.
The emergence of Tani Muturaki on Wednesday as the chairmanship consensus candidate for the PDP convention has been generating reactions from within the party. Some party members have also dissociated themselves from the consensus candidate, insisting that they were never consulted despite being critical members of the party.
Well, these are the issues that we're taking on now with a member of the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Segun Showunmi joins us in Ibadan, where incidentally the convention of the People's Democratic Party is slated to hold on the 15th and 16th of this month. It's good to see you, Mr. Segun Showunmi. Thank you so much for joining us. How confident are you that this convention of your party will hold in the city where you're currently domiciled?
No, I'm actually domiciled in Akure. There's an important meeting tomorrow, and so I'm in Akure, but that as me. Good morning. You know, the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria has lost its unique, fundamental, ideal, original principle. We are not a political party that ordinarily will want to do a convention and people will be struggling to buy forms. We're not a political party that will print one form however we may want to back a candidate. That's not who we are. We are not a political party that does zoning in a manner that nobody can explain clearly what was zoned where, who was zoned what, and how people can buy forms. We are not a political party where G1, who broke away from G5, will suddenly be the one that is masquerading and manipulating the process all by himself. We're not a political party where the National Organizing Secretary, whose office and title is responsible for the activities of congresses and such, will not know. We're not a political party where the National Secretary, however you're angry with him, will be unaware of the processes that we're running. So, you know, everything that has a beginning sometimes can have an end. And because a political party is not really a human being that can die, it's a registered organization. So I think that we'll wait and see. There are cases before Justice Omotosho, as I'm aware, and I have a feeling that some of these issues may come up there. Once the judge looks at it very well and takes a position, we'll then know how to continue. But one thing I can say for free is that this is not our party. This does not, we are not a portmanteau political party that one person puts in his box and runs around and pretend as if he's running a party. No, that's not who we are. So we'll see how it goes. Will he hold? Who knows? If the judge says we can go ahead, we'll try and see what we can do. If the judge says we have not to build our own laws that we created for us, obviously I'll expect him to say, no, you can't build this, you can't continue like this. Society cannot allow you to run riot on your own laws. If the members of the party feel that, no, this is too much for them, of course, they will boycott. If the people that have authority today, the G1, you know, 5 men call themselves G5, and suddenly there's a G1 now that is masquerading as the one that is cleverer. He has lost his 4 brothers. He has lost the former vice president. He has lost a lot of governors in the southern hemisphere, and yet they are trumping their chest that they know what they are doing. Good luck to us. Those of us who are holding on and just, you know, holding our breath, it's because we know what this party was ab initio from 98, and we're a political party that no one individual owns. Our party is noisy sometimes, it's democratic and all of that, but we're not a party that runs a medley of misdirected activities and comes in front of the world to say it knows what it's doing. I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed to not allow Lamido to buy that form. I'm even disappointed that those of us that are members of the party, we don't even know what is zoned to where, let alone know when the forms were sold. We are a party that once we are running congresses, people are flying all over the place, you know, trying to jostle for those positions. Public secretaries all over the place campaigning and making posters, e-banners. Chairman is visiting state caucuses and all that. No. This is not us. And alas, what we feared has started to hit us.
So, I mean, it was the governors who came up with this idea of a consensus candidate. From what you're saying, it appears that you're waiting for this judgment to be delivered by the Federal High Court on the 30th of October. So in like 2 days, we should get that judgment from the Federal High Court. However, while we wait for that judgment to, to know whether or not the convention will hold, from what you have seen so far, because some people will say for a convention to hold, there must be certain processes. There must be congresses conducted. There must be a number of other, I mean, we've just seen Mr. Sule Lamido try to go and buy a form, even though it's also been told by Mr. Umar Sani that this is not the day to buy form. This is the day to submit forms. We're going to be, today, we're supposed to start screening of the candidates who had purchased the forms, but it doesn't even appear that anyone knows where that is taking place. So, from your own analysis, has the PDP followed within its own steps? I mean, has it followed its own rules? according to what should happen when a convention is expected in about 2 to 3 weeks?
You see, thank you very much. One of the major challenges of governors thinking that they own parties and they are the only ones that have the gravitas to run parties is that it could work if that governor is someone that has been part of our party from the get-go. Somebody who is part of a political party called PDP from the get-go will be able to know that this is not who we are. But if you come in the afternoon, join our party in the evening, they give you our ticket, everybody works together, make you governor, it's possible for you to think that this is a party of anything goes. Ironically, do you think that Sule Lamido, as highly placed as he is, one of the very, very, very strong-willed political leaders in our country, with great experiences from the days of SDP, even before SDP, do you think he's a child that will just come and start saying he wants to buy the form? If you had produced the form, if you had announced the form, if you had allowed people to buy the form, if you had been transparent and honest, why would the National Organizing Secretary, in whose office, that is the engine room of things like congresses, like things like buying of forms and all, that's why we normally do it. How did the National Organizing Secretary suddenly become unaware of what you are doing? How is it that the National Secretary suddenly is unaware of what you are doing? Okay, then, the question then is, who is aware? Who is aware? By our constitution, we're not a portmanteau political party, I keep repeating. A portmanteau political party is a political party that, oh, the chairman is the founder, is the owner, is the presidential candidate and all. That's that type of party. We're not even a political party that is a garrison, where one man just backs another and it takes effect. That's not who we are. What has made people stay with our party, aside the fact that we've been registered and we've been around for a long time, is the fact that we are a political party where people's aspirations are allowed to be ventilated and they can aspire. When we now reduce ourselves to this joke that they are calling managing party, you know that we are just joking. Number one, the Supreme Court said it's internal affairs, because I know that's the kind of nonsense they'll be pouring out of their mouth and be deceiving themselves. The Supreme Court did not say that because it's your internal affairs, you will not obey your law. That's not law. The Supreme Court did not say that all the processes of your party will give you the right to disenfranchise people who are already allowed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to aspire for position in a free joining association called a political party. The Supreme Court did not say that organizations that are unknown to our law, we don't have a governor's forum. We have a BOT. We have a working committee. We have INEC. There is no personal provision called governor. So the committee of gentlemen who are on the platform of the party and probably have access to funds, who can then bring some of those funds to help the party, does not elevate itself into a life organ of the party. I don't see how this will work. And unfortunately,
you mentioned, sorry to interrupt you.
The backline of the party, people are getting really ridiculously tired.
You mentioned before that there was G5. I mean, G5 everyone was aware of. I mean, they were the ones who said, look, we're unhappy with the zoning arrangement that had been done pre-2023 for the 2023 elections, and they stood their ground. But now you're making reference to a G1. Who precisely are you referring to?
Thank you very much. Trust you to ask me that question. You see, 5 gentlemen created a G5, Governor Wike, Seyi Makinde, Governor Tom Ugwuanyi, and the other man from Enugu, I think. They basically represented the face of the G5, but there were other members. Now, one person, Seyi Makinde, who has now considered himself into a G1, has not carried along his 4 brothers, assuming we were to say they were right. Has not carried along the Atiku and all of the other leaders, like even my good self, has considered himself into a G1, and by his G1 now, he thinks that what could barely occur under G5 will now suddenly happen under G1. It will be interesting to see how it will work. It will be quite interesting. I like the concept of I am a strong man, I am a rich man, I am a governor and all of that. I like it. But I also like the concept of being sensible to know that what will not obtain here will not obtain here. The cases that will come as a result of this is just going to be too much. If we are not even careful, we will not have candidates. Because you cannot tell me that Sule will not go to court. Some of us have just said, okay, let's just leave them to exhaust it. Otherwise, typically, I would like to contest for national secretary. assuming it was zoned to us. What is zoned to my state, Tinubu? So Sheikh Makinde is going to sit down there, be manipulating the party, suddenly pick the secretary, pick everything, run everything. When did he even join our party? The last I checked, except when he was coming to be governor here, he was not even a member of the party. He used to run his campaign and his ambition under different parties. But you see, it is only the person that knows the value of a baby that can look after it. That was why the mother of the wise mother of the woman said, Solomon, oh, don't kill the baby, give it to her. The one that does not own the child doesn't mind if they break it into pieces. In any case, he has no interest in it. So why do we even believe that all this charade that he's doing, himself and his friends, is not a manipulative attempt to even make the party completely unable to even assert itself or even produce what can be easily acceptable as an aspiration? Does it make sense logically for you to depart completely from the rules? You can't be afraid of competition to such a point that you now begin to run madness and you call it that you're running party.
So what do you think is going to happen moving forward? I mean, how do you think that all of this is going to be resolved? Is it going to be a game of wait and see, or do you still believe that there are elders who can intervene at this time so that the PDP can actually have a successful convention should the court rule in its favor?
When a small concern is on the table and people and stakeholders are screaming, this is not the way, this is not the way. If you don't attend to it, it will become a major problem. At this material time, relative to the convention, we have already created a major crisis on our hand. And it is easy for you to say, oh, you will win, assuming the court says, go ahead and do it. And then you will then sit down on your cocoon and come up with the balkanization and the appropriation of our party to your friends and your crony, and then you will expect that the committee of the whole will back you. And when you come with your paid leak spittle to be telling you that, oh, Lamido was late. When was this supposed to have brought the phone? Did you tell us? Did we know? Was the media aware? Where was that done? You may have the whole concept of consensus is that this is our preferred candidate. It can never eliminate the right of others to buy form and participate. By the time you reduce a political party like PDP of all parties in Nigeria to a platform where one person will print a form, keep it underneath his bed, produce it and give it to the friends or whoever he likes, that will never be PDP now. And if it doesn't sound like PDP, then probably it's no longer PDP. And people who have been standing and holding their breath in the party because of the unique democratic credentials that the party has had over the years will then ask, what's the point of sitting down with a gang of losers who are not even smart enough to be able to be clever rogues? This is just shameful. This is not us. This is not who we are. We won election before in this country we were democratic. We've lost election before in this country we will still remain democratic. But if we now become a gang of one man thinking he knows better than everybody else, then let's see how far we can go with it.
Well, you'll certainly be keeping tabs on developments within your political party, the People's Democratic Party. We have to thank you for sharing your insights with us this morning, Mr. Segun Showumi, who is a chieftain and member of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you once more, and all the very best.
Thank you.
Well, while we're keeping track on events happening within the PDP, we're also keeping tracks with the disaster or the tragedy that happened in Lagos yesterday, where a building collapsed, killing one person and injuring several others. Ayo has that conversation for you.
Yes, as Mark mentioned, the update we have on the building collapse in Lagos is that one body has been recovered and 21 people rescued from that two-story building that collapsed in the Oyinbo area of Lagos. And quite a number of issues have arisen after that. The director of Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service said the agency received a distress call in the wee hours of yesterday, and the needful had been done. Well, that and a number of other issues we're discussing this morning with Mr. Wale Fatade, who is a journalist and commissioning editor of The Conversation Africa. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Is this one too many, or is just something that...
I think that phrase is actually a cliche too now. It's one too many. And for us in Lagos, and when that news broke yesterday, I was thinking how part of the stories I reported as a journalist when I started about 3 decades ago was building collapse in this very Lagos. And it's sad that up to the year 2025, we are still having that. And condolences to the family who lost somebody, and which that was as at the last time. We are not sure if others have died again. And we have never seen anybody being brought to book. Successive cases. Or if they have been brought to book, have the trials been prosecuted to the conclusion? So until we start doing that, and people will always be people.
Especially of cases where the Lagos State government in particular, since Lagos is the one in the eye of the storm right now, cases where the Lagos State government will come out and say, we told them to stop building.
Yes.
And they resumed building.
Yes.
And
not once, not twice. I've seen buildings, in fact, those of them who have called distress now, you know, those ones that have been built earlier, you know, this one that happened yesterday was actually a building being built. It's ongoing. So, but I've seen buildings that have become old, that the LABSCA, whatever agency, have marked, and they put there their red tape, they put the seal, and people broke it. And they still continue living there. And then that speaks to our law enforcement. People anywhere will not ordinarily do what is right. There must be measures guiding against doing what is bad. I think the government, the Lagos State government has to step up along that line.
It's interesting, Mr. Fatade, because even right now, and I stand to be corrected, I saw a building somewhere at Isheri, that the building is being broken piece by piece, yet people are still living inside it. And it raises another question. So on the one hand are collapsed buildings. Yeah. On the other hand are buildings, just as you have said, that have been marked for demolition.
Because they are distressed.
And an extension is buildings that are being demolished by government. And look at the case in Oroshoki. It's quite a difficult, terrain, because the case dates back some 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, the government is being run by politicians. And then they cannot just but play politics. And as much as those of us who are not politicians expect them to be players in governance or in government, but they are politicians as well. So there are definitely political considerations to demolitions or what do you have. But I think the government has to step up. The other side now is the acute shortage of good housing. Or maybe I should reframe that. Acute shortage of affordable housing. Because there might be houses that are not affordable. And even when we have the rent edict that's promulgated under the former governor, Baba, what's his name?
Mr. Fashola.
Raji Fashola, Babatunde Fashola. So, but then, the basic principle in law is any law you don't have the means of enforcing, don't make them. The government does not have plenty of its own houses. And so how do you regulate rent the way we are trying to do in this part of the world? And so it's a serious matter. But speaking of Oworo, one angle that, as of now, I've really tried to sift through what exactly is happening. There's a cacophony of voices out there, a cacophony of reports. What exactly is happening? The residents whose houses were demolished, they are claiming there was a valid court order, which the government ignored. The government said no, that they are giving adequate notice. So who is lying?
Well, the court order was also validated by Mr. Falana, who put out a notice about that one.
So
but then, there, as you would probably also know, there have been situations in which the state government said, this matter dates back some 2 years. We've been telling these people for years.
But if there is a valid court order, you can't override it. And you see, you might not like the judgment of a court, and all of us have been on different sides of different judgments, that if the judgment favors you, the judiciary is good. If the judgment does not favor you, the judiciary is bad. So that's human. But remember, about a week back, the police itself, who is legendary, notorious for disobeying court orders serially, they themselves ran to the court when Showore and Co wanted to protect. So if we all know that we will need the court one day, we should try and obey the orders of the court.
So what should be the process now? Because we are, on the one hand, we are looking at the legalese, right?
Yes.
On the other hand, is the fact that some people are homeless right now.
Definitely.
Another major consideration of the state government, which there has the
environment,
the
flooding,
planning, yes, has
which is
about
a major
that.
issue too.
So,
climate change.
Exactly. Perhaps the issue is that of communication or collaboration or interfacing with the people, because the argument that I've been trying to make sense of is these people have elective officials.
There was a time your colleague did a fantastic report, Chris Illems, and then let people, he's my friend, but that was a good report about the first demolition in Oworonshoki. I mean, those people brandish documents that they claim were issued by government agencies. And so the people in government offices, government departments and agencies, ministries who are approving those buildings, we have never seen anybody being tried or being brought to the open. So there cannot be that sabotage, as it were, without internal collaborators. So were those papers truly genuine?
Internal collaborators of government or the people?
Of government and its agencies. Were those papers truly genuine or they are fake papers? The government conveniently, successively, always ignore that part.
But don't forget that that same government called people, I think about a few months ago,
yes,
into Alausa. The general manager, I remember, I think of Lapska, also went to that place and told them. And the people were right there. It was covered on television.
Yeah,
and
Chris's report showed the footage of that, I remember.
People were saying, he was telling the people, you guys didn't do the needful. He was standing on the rubble of one of those buildings, if you remember.
But those documents they have, are they still genuine?
But after that incident was when the government now called the people, the residents, to the office, to the secretariat in Alausa, and had conversations with them. Okay, this is the situation and that is the situation. And some people from the community were telling government, we're going to cooperate with you. But now there's the criticism coming from some of the people in the community saying that our own leaders are colluding with government against us. This morning on the morning brief, one of my colleagues was interviewing, two of my colleagues were interviewing a resident of Oworonshoki who was saying that their monarch is someone
but anything that involves people is always open to compromise.
So where do we go from here?
Oh, and that's where the government comes in. The government is supposed to take care of people's welfare. Or people's welfare. That's the reality. The protection of lives and welfare of citizens is, those are government paramount duties. We've had government, our own federal government, who have said that Boko Haram guys, the militants, who carry guns against their fellow citizens, who carry guns against the state apparatus, as represented by security agents, they have been rehabilitated. And so, and I'm zooming without conceding, because the government has not made those facts clear to me as a person, possibly because I'm slow in understanding things, maybe they need to do more, that let's assume that those people actually built wrongly. Those people actually did what is illegal. But livelihoods have been affected. Lives have been affected. What is the cushion that government is doing for them? Or government is bringing to the table?
Okay.
Because I don't know about people, so but I saw my teacher parents struggling to build a house. It was not funny.
And the first thing now would be, how do we interface with the people? I'm not even talking, I don't know whether there's going to be compensation or not. I don't know what the agenda is. One of the accusations against the government by the people is that there is a master plan somewhere intended for building some highfalutin.
Maybe they are going to, and we have seen that. And you won't blame the people. Once beaten, twice shy. We have seen that in this Lagos, that places were taken over. I've reported shops as far back as the late 90s in Tejosho. They were demolished and were taken over. And that has been repeated elsewhere. So we hope that this area that the government is saying is on the waterway, is a wetland or whatever, will not be allocated to people.
So what are the gaps that you think need to be closed so that people can get closure, and then there can be some measure of transparency?
We need... That's a difficult question, even for me as a journalist saying that. Because we don't know what is correct now. We are not sure the government is laying all the cards on the table. That's an important thing. And so he who comes to equity must come with cleanliness or with open hands. So let the government lay every card on the table. Let us be sure that this was actually for the sake of an environment. Nothing sinister, nothing wickedness, nothing terrible was behind this demolition.
So let me ask this human question, if I can put it that way. Do you think government, and I like to decrypt government. The government is made up of executive, legislature, and judiciary, one.
Yes.
And this same government is made up of elected officials, selected officials, and employed officials.
Yeah.
So looking at it in that composite, if some government officials live in that community, do you think there is significant understanding of what the people are going through?
Yeah, but you see, as you and I as communication professionals, we have seen this. The government in this part of the world at many levels is detached from the citizens. There's mutual distrust The citizens don't trust their government. The government don't trust the citizens. And when people have been beaten many times, you won't blame them for the distrust. And so I'm not sure the two sides now, as represented by the government, with all the layers you have analyzed, and the citizens, I'm not sure they're on both sides. Because I really wanted to understand this last one, the one of, was it last week? Was it last week or when? That what exactly happened? Because the first video I saw was the one that was shot in the night. And then why demolishing at night?
Okay. Well,
don't you think that is important? A question to be asked.
It's not just this last one. There were the previous one.
They have been doing at night. So
similar.
Why are you doing at night? Why?
But even what's also curious about that one is that even that previous one, some government officials claimed
they were not aware.
They were not aware.
We saw that in Festac. I mean, an area that you know very well, that it has nothing to do with us. I mean, and when people that lead us, when they lie with impunity, when they lie barefacedly, it's so sad.
Okay. Well, I'm sure before we take a break, I'm sure Markwa would want to quickly weigh in on this conversation, and then we'll probably come back to some other issues. Markwa?
Well, to be honest, I do not have any questions on the collapse. I was hoping that we could move on to other issues, especially as INEC is currently holding or will be holding a meeting today with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. We understand that meeting is slated for 10 o'clock, and this comes exactly about a week plus ahead of the Anambra election. So there'll be questions for our guests when we come back from this break, so please stay with us. Welcome back. Mr. Fasade is still with us in our studios in Lagos, and we're switching gears now to the meeting that INEC is supposed to be holding that's the Interagency Consultative Committee meeting on election security. Well, we do know what has happened with the appointment of Professor Joash Amupichon. He's now been sworn in and he's resumed office. And it's barely 2 weeks to the Anambra governorship election. Some people will say that he does have, I don't know, he's stepping on hot coals, so to speak, because here is an election in which he's not exactly been involved in so far. He has barely 2 weeks to catch up on all that has been done. Yet, whether or not these elections go well, the buck will stop at his desk. What do you think needs to happen for him to be able to deliver successfully on an election a lot of people will be using to judge whether or not he's the right fit for the job?
Thanks, Margaret. Frankly speaking, I don't have enough answers for him. Either do I have words that will comfort him or console him in the cauldron of fire he has walked into. He's not walking into it, he has already walked into it. I mean, confirmation hearing in other places are not as smooth as his, so I congratulate him for that. But barely 1 week to settle down in the office, I'm not even sure he will understand the geography of INEC headquarters very well. That this is where the floor of my office is, where the bathrooms are, where my car park is, blah, blah, blah. And so walking into this Anambra, I just think that beyond my prayers, which I watched the confirmation hearing, which I offered to him that day, that may God help him, because his ways are already rough. I mean, if you look at the build-up to the Anambra election, there have been many things. And by the way, you people have been following it doggedly. So I don't really know how he handles that. And I wish he succeeds. But it's going to be tough because his tenure, as short as it is, you know, in medicine, it will be called, that will be a neonate now, not even an infant, a baby that is not up to 2 weeks. But yet, his 5 years will be determined or will be defined by what happens in Anambra. I wish him well.
Well, some people say that he still has a number of other elections to go, and maybe that this was supposed to be
there's one in my home state next week.
Don't forget that the former INEC chairman still had some time before we understand he was eased out or was asked to leave or, you know, take his leave early, so to speak. He could have seen these elections through, but it would appear that perhaps they wanted him to have some study ground before, you know, before he finally took over as INEC chairman, maybe to understand what exactly he was going to be up against. So what lessons would you like him to pay attention to as we go into the Anambra governorship election?
Oh, okay, that one you can speak to. At the Conversation Africa, we actually published an article speaking about an agenda for the new INEC chair. And I can tell him, he needs to sort out the technological issue, that we can have results, and I'm glad that the National Assembly or the Senate is talking about that we can have results real time, electronically, as things are happening. And then INEC needs to step up on voter education. It's important. And it's mandated to do that constitutional-wise or legally, that INEC, there's a Department of Voters and Civic Education, I think. They should step up on that, why people need to register, why people need to vote. I've been trying to convince young people who have turned 18 since this revalidation or whatever started. I've not seen the kind of enthusiasm when I turned 18 about registering to vote. That's number 2. Number 3, then there must be a way INEC need to do this prosecution of electoral offenders. That is important. That is important. And then lastly for me, he need to bridge the gap that people will learn to trust INEC again. The reality is that trust in INEC is abysmally low. That is very low level now. So Professor Amokwita and his staff and his colleagues must look for ways of bridging that gap, shoring up the trust level in INEC. That is important.
Well, some people will say maybe they want to reverse it, that maybe that's number 1, shoring up the trust levels, because it would seem it will trickle down into everything else that you've listed. I mean, technology, the enthusiasm which we should ordinarily see on the part of young people. And maybe, I don't know whether Anambra will be a good testing ground for that, especially when you look at what is on the ground. It does appear that ABGA has, held on to that state for quite a while. The incumbent governor, won the last elections. He won in almost all the, if not all, the local government areas. But this time around, he says he doesn't just want to win in all the local government areas. He wants to win by tsunami. And we haven't quite seen the opposition that is really standing up to him. Or am I missing something here as a journalist?
Well, we must recognize again as journalists, we might not see everything. We are human. So, but I think Professor Soludo is fighting a battle, so, and then winning by a tsunami, that's a politician's talk. So it's well entitled to that. But I quite agree with you. The opposition are being coed, largely undefined, and I don't know how they hope to snatch the victory from the jaws of defeat, as it were. That's a fact for me, from afar that I've seen too.
Yeah, but in that sort of situation, it certainly doesn't waken enthusiasm, does it?
No, where at a certain level, it is up to, power is not giving a la carte. You are the one that will actually show that you are interested in getting it. So it's up to the opposition to show the reasons why people should trust them and not trust Professor Charles Soludo. And the other angle to it, it's everybody must have reasons why you needed to vote. If you are satisfied without the government, and Professor Soludo is not campaigning afresh again. It's a referendum on how he has performed in the last 4 years. So if the Anambra people think he has done very well, so be it. And so that, but I think what is important is this. Both the victors and the losers, let them see that I've been thoroughly defeated or I truly deserve to lose, why the other person deserves to win. And the chairman himself said that he wants elections to be won through the ballot boxes and not through the courts anymore. So, all the best to him.
One of the very interesting things I find about Anambra is that it is always, its elections have come as some experiment of sorts. So the last elections we witnessed in Anambra State was just post-COVID. And then the security situation in Anambra State was such that people were really and genuinely worried, wondering whether or not elections would be able to hold. Now Anambra is here again, and we have a new INEC chairman at the helm of affairs who's barely stayed, or who will be barely 2 weeks in office by the time the elections are conducted. I do not know what exactly has put Anambra in that sort of position, but do you think that makes it unique in terms of what to expect, what the markers will be? Because I don't know where, people began to really lose the confidence. Some people would say maybe it was the 2023 elections that did it for a lot of people. But prior to that time, we had seen INEC experiment with a number of, technological devices. And it did seem to gain the confidence of people. So give, for instance, the introduction of the beavers and the transmission of election results. We saw what happened in Edo State, not this last one, the one before this last elections, and how it, would I say, it buoyed confidence ahead of the 2023 elections. So for you, looking forward to Anambra, given all that you have listed, what interesting things are you hoping will happen with this election, even as INEC continues to maintain that they are the ones, they're the lead agency in charge of election conducting, but they are not the only agency involved in the success of elections?
I got friends who are academics who have participated in the election, you know, the collation process. And I've spoken to some of them, and they will tell you that it's the figures that are brought to the collation centers that they read out. After all, they don't partake in the conduct of the election. And I actually understand the reasoning behind INEC's argument of we are not the only person, other agencies are involved. But the reality is, as you mentioned, that popular Harry Truman's call, the buck stops at the table of INEC. That's the reality. INEC alone has the mandate constitutionally now to supervise the election. And so if part of those people that are helping you carry out your duties are compromised or they are susceptible to extraneous influence beyond what is constitutionally provided for, you got yourself only to blame. So INEC cannot shift the blame there. And that's why I'm interested particularly in the amendment going on to the Electoral Act by the Senate, where they say that the burden of proof that somebody has won the election should be transferred to INEC, not the victor. And that would be very wonderful for me. So that by the time INEC knows that it's up to INEC now to prove if you ever had to go to tribunal or whoever had to go to court, the burden of proof that so person has won lies on you. Perhaps we are going to see something different. But then, speaking of Professor Amupitan just coming on now, I think we need to look at the side of the president too. He knew this term of Professor Yakubu was going to end. Perhaps the nomination could have come earlier so that Professor Amupitan would have had more time to settle. As it were now, I'm not even sure they have printed his scorecard or ID card for him. And yet, he's thrown into this cauldron of Anambra election. We can only wish him well. But the reality is, this election will define his time. That's a fact.
Well, I do know that there's one more issue that I will take up with you, which is this issue of Nnamdi Kanu, who, you know, he's still facing trial and was supposed to have opened his defense, but he maintains a no-case submission. We've seen something like this before when, during the course of his lengthy trial, where he sacked his legal team and, you know, insists on representing himself. How confident are you? Because there are those who have complained that this case has gone on for too long. They cite the instance of Simon Ekpa in Finland and how the authorities there were able to dispense with that matter in no due time. I mean, in no time, in about 6 months, that was, you know, done and dusted, and he's right now cooling his heels in jail. But on this particular matter, how do you see us, you know, getting a resolution from this quagmire?
You know, you'd be shocked if I told you this, that I actually thought Nnamdi Kanu is a lawyer. I mean, until I found out that that was not correct, that he's not a lawyer. So, I mean, I was looking forward to an explosive trial, considering the witness list that he submitted or his counsel submitted before he fired them. And I don't know what he hoped to gain. But if you look at the ruling yesterday, the justice, or the judge, Justice Amotosho, I think, was kind enough in explaining things to him and the implication of his no-case submission. Remember again, in this trial, in the course of the trial, that no case has actually, I think it has actually gone to Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court ruled that, look, you got the case to answer, then reassign the case to another judge and start the trial afresh. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Kanu knows something the rest of us don't know. But I would have loved him to allow his lawyers to represent him. And then that list of the so-called witnesses he wanted to call, I would have loved to see how they would have helped his case. But with this one, I don't know.
You know, it also raises some questions about whether this is a political case or a judicial case.
Who determines that? There's a proper case in court. And by the way, that does not mean I'm against if there will be a political resolution of Nnamdi Kanu. I don't have a problem with that. Those of our people, elected officials who are the ones that play the politics, they might have things that, they might see things that the rest of us don't see. So without any prejudice to that, if they want to reach a political solution, after all, in this same country, we have seen elected officials negotiating with bandits. We have seen elected officials negotiating with terrorists. So Nigeria, anything goes at a certain level. But be that as it may, there is a proper case in court. You are in the dock, for goodness sake. You are being told that this is what will happen to you if this go ahead. The judge was patient and lenient yesterday in explaining. And at a certain level, perhaps the court actually rule against its own order, that you must close your defense on so day. Just that he will go home and think again. Again, I think Mr. Kanu knows something the rest of us don't know.
But then there is also this concern.
Because who are the people pursuing the political settlement for him?
There is also this issue a number of people have been looking at concerning this case. And that's the question of what the core issue really is. The agitation had always been that of marginalization over the years, even before Nnamdi Kanu came, by the states.
At a certain level, all of us are marginalized.
Well, that is the position of some people, as far as the Southeast is concerned.
Yeah.
Now, there is also, don't also forget that it's not only the Southeast that's had this feeling. That was what saw to the demise of the man that was killed under the Abacha regime. Even somewhere, Ken Saro-Wiwa, even under some people in the north-central part of Nigeria, some of them have also claimed being marginalized. Isn't that a core issue that we need to really focus on? The fact that some elements in Nigeria...
I align with that sentiment. And that's why I'm saying that at certain level, all of us are marginalized. Those of us who are not from Lagos in that sense, but who work and earn a living and pay our taxes in Lagos, at a certain level, are marginalized too. My children now, they have got to go to my home state of Osun to go and get whatever they want to get. They are not allowed to get things in Lagos at a certain level. So all of us can cry marginalization. And that's a result of the defective structure that we have. I thought you were going to link your argument with the Niger Delta militants who use militancy to get the state to sort them out. You know, that was what gave rise to the amnesty program, which was marshaled then by Vice President Goodluck Jonathan, who later became the president, as mandated by the late President Yar'Adua. So I thought that was what you were going to. If that was what Mr. Kanu thought he would get, I'm not even sure that he got enough sympathy among his kith and kin like that.
But one of the questions...
And there is a major difference. Hold on, please. Yes. There's a major difference between him and the Niger Delta militants. Niger Delta militants were not blowing up their own people. They are only blowing up oil installation and oil pipe and
even that, a number of people question why...
I'm just saying that too.
Even that, a number of people question that as well, because there's always been some kind of... the 13% derivation, for instance, that goes to the Niger Delta states. The people do not feel it. So then, there's some people are asking questions whether or not that's a problem of government. But there's a question around whether or not there is significant closure since the Civil War.
Oh, from me, who have studied the Civil War, who have spoken to some of the actors before they passed on, I don't think so too. I don't think so. And that's a shame on all of us as Nigerians. I don't think so. Well, I think we could do more, and we should do more to embrace our Igbo people. That's me. I think so.
Well, so many other issues to raise with you, but I'm guessing we have to bring that on some other time. Mr. Wale Fatade is a journalist and commissioning editor of The Conversation Africa. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And that's the show this morning. Thank you again for the privilege of your company. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maope Ogun Yusuf. On top of the hour is Business Morning.